Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and let me be the first to tell you, life isn't fair, because as you can see, I'm sitting in front of the flag of Romania, because it's time for me to talk about Romania's entry at Eurovision 2022. And as you can see, the shade of blue is approximately correct. Why is it only my Moldovan flag that's so faded? I don't know how that happened and I feel so bad, but that doesn't matter here and now because, as I said, it's kind of Romania's turn. Anyway, this year was kind of a disaster, let's not mince words, but there's a story to that and I'm getting ahead of myself. The actual song that will represent them this year comes to us in the form of Llámame, which is presented fully in English with trace amounts of Spanish in there, and Llámame is Spanish for call me, not English for yeah, mummy. So he's telling his girlfriend to phone him, not telling his mother that he agrees. And the he in question is Mr. Andrei Ursu, better known as Urs, which it's stylized as WRS, but it's pronounced as Urs, which is the Romanian word for bear, apparently, and I'm sure you can extrapolate some meaning from that based on how he presents himself, but I am not an expert in such things. Music this time around by, well, Andrei Ursu, as well as Cezar Gunnar, Alexandru Turtu, and Costel Dominteanu, and lyrics by Andrei and Cezar. Not to be confused with the Cezar from 2013. He was in the national final, but it's not that Cezar who did the lyrics. I'm glad we're all on the same page there, because it's really obvious to anyone who knows the guy's name, and I'm rambling. So, getting this crazy trenulețul back on track, to sum it up in 2 words, I would say this is a pleasant surprise. I had heard a lot, and I mean a lot, of negativity about how Romania's national broadcaster handled the song selection this year. And as far as my research has turned up, much of that negativity is justified. But, thank goodness for small mercies, at least the song that we got out of the other side of it is something of a bop. I could definitely see how some people might write it off as disposable pop because, well, it sort of is, but I mean, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. Sure, it is a bit mindless, but not completely so. I think it's a sufficiently good time. That being said, the dance break that comes after each refrain, again, like with Denmark, answers in the comments, I beg you, it reminds me of something and I cannot put my finger on what it is. My first guess is maybe I've heard that melody in a Pokemon game or something, or maybe Holiday by Boney M. Some beans and rice will make it nice, holiday. I don't know. There's something in there that I feel like I recognize and I can't place it. It doesn't matter, it's not plagiarism, it just reminds me of something. I thought I'd just preempt that because Eurovision fans tend to be a bit trigger happy when it comes to plagiarism accusations. None needed here. Right, Hexagons, less of the waffling and rambling. First of all, things you might like, the choreography. Yes, the dancing at the national final is a tiny bit on the simple side, you could say, but I find that to be a strength. It's sort of like when you see a swan on a body of water. It looks easy and elegant and effortless, but under the surface there are some furiously hard-working components that are working together to make that elegantness happen. Stuff like the way the backing dancers interact with each other and with Andrei himself. I mean, he even dances with both a female backing dancer and a male backing dancer, so everyone's happy. Also, I might be mistaken, but I feel like there are some faint influences from Romanian traditional dances worked into their movements, mostly in the arm motions. You know, they spread their arms out and they kind of do almost like a Latina bopified horror of sorts. Either way, you know, even if I'm completely off the mark there, this song has danceable, memorable qualities, especially that musical hook, and they use it to great effect live. I expect to see more of that on the stage in Turin, to an even greater effect. This could very well be a moment. Honestly, on the whole, I would describe this song as extremely chart-ready. Like, this could come on the radio in my country right this second now, and it wouldn't sound out of place. It's very much in tune with what's popular in this general musical field when it comes to writing sensibilities and structure. So anyone who likes this sort of music, whether that's as a professional dancer or a competitive dancer, or just someone in a club looking for a banger to turn down for whom to, I don't know, that's so not my lifestyle. If you're any of those people, you're pretty much bound to have a good time here. At the risk of going really out there, I think this is a surprisingly atmospheric song as well, all things considered. Like, the key it's in has a sort of Mediterranean evening-y kind of feel to it. Like, they somehow baked an entire sunset over the Adriatic coast into the music. And that mental image, landscape kind of vibe, it matches so well with the song's tone. It's about eloping with a lover that nobody else approves of, but who cares because we are so in love. At least, I think that's what he's going for. It sounds like the story he's telling, which is good, because it all sort of knits together nicely and yeah. That is kind of the thing, though. Am I right in saying that's what the song is about? Because the lyrics of this song are unbelievably throwaway. They tell a story, or rather they hint at a story, but in terms of wording, they really only do the bare minimum. It's just vocal noise to make the song feel more alive. But even the song itself is aware that exactly what is being said kind of doesn't matter. It's not an innately bad thing, of course. This sort of music isn't meant to be scrutinized by literature experts, after all, but nevertheless it can come across as chewing gum for the mind, depending on your taste. It's not a weakness, it's something some people may not like, and there is a difference. That is to say, if you're not the sort of person who's content to just tune out and bop for a bit, with or without a drink in your hand, then there isn't much, if anything, here that could redeem this song for you, if you're not already there. I'm aware that that kinda sounds like a weak statement. What I'm trying to say is, it puts all of its eggs into one basket when it comes to how it makes its appeal. So if it misses the mark with that initial impact, nothing else in the 3 minutes that follow is going to change your mind. Also, maybe a bold statement here, but I feel like the national final staging was a bit bland. Like, yes, much can be said about the choreography itself. I take no issue with the choreography, but there's more to staging than just dance moves. In Turin, this song will need more than just a stock LED background with lyrics on it, and they'll need more dynamic, more energetic camera work to properly sell it. It needs to complement the dancing and not just document it. The dancing itself, though, incidentally, totally fine. You can keep that literally as is if you want to. It's just everything else around it that needs a bit of a tune-up, in my opinion. Unless I'm completely crazy. You could also weigh in on that in the comments below as well. All being said then, whether or not I actually am crazy, my gut tells me to give this a 7 out of 10 for a personal rating for now. It's sort of borderline in terms of whether or not I might come back to it after the contest, because it is a bop, it is a jam, but at the same time there is something very evening about the key that it's in, and that sort of key tends to give me a feeling of lethargy, but that is just me, I'm aware. Really, to sell me on a song like this, the hook has to be really infectious. And while this is good, it would need to be an 11 out of 10 for me to be more enthusiastic about it. Don't misunderstand though, I do still like it enough that I really look forward to the live performance of this. Like, I want to see what they do with it. I'm just aware that I could like it more than I do, if only this or that. You know how it is. So, technical gems, maybe you can be a little bit more rational. Lyrics-wise, okay, immediate self-contradiction, 0 out of 2. I'm completely aware that the lyrics are a means to an end in this song, nothing more, nothing less. It's not inherently a bad thing, I want to reiterate. Nobody comes to this genre looking for meaningful poetry. Still, rating it on the same scale as the other songs in this year's contest, I have to be a bit harsh here. Music-wise, similarly, 1 out of 2. The atmosphere is tight and the hook is catchy, but the song can just come across as ping-pong between two modes, the dancey bit and the backing track to the fluffy meaningless lyrics bit, both presented in that rather lethargic key. If you're on board, you're gonna love it. If not, then, you know. Delivery though, definitely 2 out of 2. I will give fair credit to Urs and his backing dancers and their ability to perform live. Andrei himself brings some well-rehearsed choreography that doesn't impact his vocals at all. That's an important point. and he has this cool, captivating charisma that owns the stage effortlessly. I can believe him as the ringleader of this little gang of sexy dancers on stage. I use that term slightly loosely, but you know what I mean. Paradoxically, though, I'll say 1 out of 2 for staging potential, because I felt the national final staging on the whole to be a bit weak, like I said. Like, yes, the choreography is good, but that's kind of all it's giving us. No clever cinematography, a fairly bland backdrop. It will need more to properly land on the Eurovision stage, which is completely possible. I'm expecting kaleidoscopic cameras, something like Friend of a Friend, or even Midnight Gold. You could do something out there with this to really make it pop on TV. But that's just my opinion. Appeal-wise, though, I will say 2 out of 2 because I can totally imagine this being played on Radio 1 in the UK. For those not aware, that is the station where the current charts happen. That's music catered towards the general masses. And for the purposes of this song, I mean that as a compliment. What it lacks academically, it massively delivers on in market friendliness. And, you know, even academic shortcomings aren't inherently a bad thing, I need to reiterate. So, that mixed bag admittedly does add up to a technical 6, for a total of 13 altogether. A part of me expected higher, but also a part of me expected lower after this year's national final drama. Oh, and speaking of... Romania's selection this year was just one disaster after another. I'll keep this brief, but from what I've seen, even setting aside the budgetary issues that TVR continues to face, we have things like one of the jurors openly expressing a bias against a particular genre of song, a promotional campaign that incentivized people to vote in the show by offering them a phone screen cover. Never mind the extortionate rates the voters were charged in the first place. Like, it was a lottery to win a piece of plastic for a phone screen, not even a phone! And the utterly ridiculous and warped way the points were allocated in the final in the first place, also that the public votes counted as 1 extra juror out of 6, rather than being split 50-50, so there was kind of no point in it being there. But the most egregious foul-up, and the fact that I'm able to go on this much of a rant is already a huge red flag, but I've heard reports that at least 5 or 6 of the shortlisted songs were eliminated from the running purely because of their running order draw in the qualifying round. Apparently, the broadcaster told the jurors not to bother deliberating over them because they wouldn't have time to print the certificates that said XYZ actors qualified for the final for those last few. What?! Anyway though, that's all in the past now, back to WRS. My experience of the last 20 years of Eurovision makes me think that this will probably be a fairly safe qualifier. But the last 5 years specifically actually make me worry a lot. Thing is, this is the usual pedigree of quality that Romania brought to every final every year for the last 2 decades, more or less. And the song's radio friendliness and the impressive choreography make me think that this will break the recent curse that Romania has been suffering under and bring them back into the final. It reminds me of the likes of Zalela from 2012, for example. However, I want to acknowledge that it is very possible that this might not qualify. Romania is drawn to perform in the second half of the second semi-final, which is shaping up to be the designated bloodbath of the year. In reality, it's just highly competitive. There are quite a few songs that will probably make it from that show, and while I do think this is one of the probably will make it songs, that doesn't make it absolutely safe. Of course, in an ideal Eurovision, nobody should be absolutely safe, but unfortunately that's not the world we live in. We'll just have to see how the vote goes on the night, because I could see the public and the jury alike varying wildly in either direction. I'm optimistic, but not enough for me to make any predictions yet, so I will throw the ball over to you lovely people. Check the iCard, check the video description, listen to the song for yourself. Come to your own conclusions, have your own opinions, and think them accordingly. In the meantime, to WRS, to Andrei, to your talented backing dancers as well, because they deserve fair credit, I wish you the very best of luck, and I just hope that your staging really makes this song pop, because there's a lot of potential here. Don't blow it, TVR!